Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Cup of Positivity. This morning, I have the pleasure of introducing Daniel Knight, who's the CEO of Unicorn Universe and a complete and utter master connector. So, a little bit on Daniel here before we dive into it. I was looking at your LinkedIn earlier today, and you have a seriously impressive list of like entrepreneurship. I was looking on there, and there's so many things that say like owner or co-founder or founder. It was really cool. You seem to have this incredible talent to find opportunities to drive massive growth. You've looked like you've got opportunities from a very young age. You started, then you kind of went to Hertz, and now you're running this unicorn universe, and you've got all kinds of skills. And the last thing that I want to throw into this introduction here is that you aim to build businesses and impact over 1 billion people, which is a huge number. And I love that you've just aimed that high. You're like, no, we're gonna blow past 1 million, and we're going right to 1 billion. So if you want to, let's start with taking me back a little bit here. And how did entrepreneurship start for you? Because you started at quite a young age, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into it, though, I want to say thank you, Freeman, so much for having me on here. I think you're an amazing person. I love what you're doing with the Positivity 365. You're a stud. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh,
So,
thanks, man.
so yeah, let's blast to the past.
Yeah, let's
Um,
do it.
so officially, I would say my very first business, I was 12 years old. However, what I realized, I was talking with somebody, and it dawned on me that when I was like 6 years old with my siblings, we would string up these popsicle sticks. I'm sure some people know about what I'm talking about. They're these popsicle sticks that are in a cross. You get like this rainbow yarn and you wrap it around the sticks. And we went door to door selling them to people. And I would say that was probably my first business. I mean, like without realizing it, but that's entrepreneurship 101, right?
Were you
Find
were you going door to door?
100%. Yeah, we walked around the neighborhood and asked people which ones they wanted. We had rainbow ones, we had some that were like blue, purple, whatever you wanted, right? And we had like tons of them. We'd also like trade candy after Halloween and stuff.
Yeah.
Trading and bartering, and which goes into my first, what I would call, well, kind of my first business, which so my legal initials are DAM, Daniel Antonio Martinez. My full name being Daniel Antonio Knight Martinez. Um, so my first business, I was fixing and flipping electronics, primarily fixing them, reformatting computers when I was 12 years old, just out of my mom's basement. So I called my business Damn IT. I thought it was really funny. I still do.
You're like, I'm so clever.
100%. I thought I made business cards and everything, and yeah, and so that's what I was doing, and I did that for a handful of years, and then went down the path. I was at Harmon's. I was a sous chef there, and then I just always tend to come back to business. I like to say I'll come up with a business idea and go to sleep and wake up with a business plan, and
Hmm.
it just happens. Like I don't know why I can't get away from it, and I don't really want to. So
No,
yeah,
that's
it's a
so
little bit
that's
of the
so
history.
interesting. What do you think was like part of? So you've obviously got this ability to kind of look for opportunities, right? Like even just the fact that you notice that your initials were like, oh, my initials are damn, and there's obviously a hole somewhere that I can fill to do IT solutions. I'm assuming you had a technical background of some sort, right? Or you probably, I don't know if you were a nerd like me, just spent a lot of time on computers as a kid. Um,
Yeah.
so you kind of have this ability to like see opportunities, which you still have. I'll give you that. Like your ability to see an opportunity is incredible. What do you think kind of when you were younger drove you to that? Like what was there inspiration? Did you have somebody you look up to? How did that look?
Yeah, so I definitely had some inspiration from my dad. He was always in business in some way or another. What I learned, later on in my life is some of them were legitimate, some of them were not. But everything I do is, and so I learned a lot from him, just watching him, seeing him hustle and work, his brains out. And you know, and there were some situations that got my dad taken away from us, and so I ended up. He told me when I was, my mom says I was 9 when he told me that I had to be the man of the house, and
Wow.
so at that age, I was like, oh, okay, that means I got to change the light bulbs and fix the vacuum, and if the computer breaks, I got to fix that. So I was just kind of like fixing things all the time, and so I knew how to reformat computers, and that's kind of like how the business started at that age. Was I learned that it's not that hard to reformat computers, and people would pay me $100 to do it. So posted an ad on KSL. I'm like, I'll reformat your computer for $100, and I got plenty of people hitting me up, and I was like, I can't drive, so bring the computer to my house. My mom was always like, there's these random people showing up at our house, dropping their computers off to Daniel, and I'd say thanks, and I'd take it into my basement, fix it up, and give it back to them a couple hours later, and no problems. So that's kind of how it started with the whole fixing computer thing. Later on, I ended up getting into fixing and flipping iPads, cell phones, computers, tablets, TVs, you name it. Really, if there were two parts that were broken, I would take one broken phone that, let's say, it had a broken screen, and another one that had like water damage but a good screen. I'd mix the two together and create one solid working functional phone, and then sell the other one for parts. So
man, like I said, opportunities, man, you know where they are. It's incredible. And then I also noticed too, so you started like you seem to have shifted, like you started right into business, right? Like you went into your own personal business, and then you started working for like bigger corporations and stuff like that. How did you feel as you shifted from like entrepreneurship landscape to like larger corporate landscape?
So the reason I did that was very specific. That was right around the time that my dad passed away. And when he did, I was slated to take over his bakeries. He had 7 bakeries and a warehouse in Spain.
Wow.
And so I was supposed to go over there and take him over. When he passed, I learned that he had, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt. He was living very unhealthily. He was working from like 4 a.m. to midnight, and drinking 2 liters of Coke a day, just very unhealthy lifestyle. Meanwhile, I'm over here in the US, posting ads online. People were dropping their electronics off at my house. I really enjoyed this business model. Then I'd fix them, list them on eBay, and the USPS would show up at my doorstep and send them to whoever bought it. It was like so seamless, and I was making good money. I'm like, I really don't want to follow in those footsteps, because he died mid-50s from a heart attack. His dad died mid-50s from a heart attack, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, seems like a common trend. Own a bakery, work yourself to death, and die mid-50s from a heart attack. So I'm on like this mission to not die mid-50s from a heart attack. And I feel like a big key to that is, well, focus more on a strategic business model versus just working for dollars, right? I don't play with a $1 loaf of bread, right? I mean, you got to sell a lot of bread to make a decent living. So I just couldn't do it, So I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And those bakeries got shut down, sold off for parts, unfortunately. But I feel like because I made that choice to shift away from, what he was doing, I've been able to learn a lot more. And, going the corporate route was also my way of like, at that age, I was like, man, if he put all of this energy into building a business, he had all these warehouses, bringing in all this revenue, but he was still broke and there was nothing to show for it by the time he died. I'm like, I should just go get a job. So I kind of gave up at that point on entrepreneurship. And so I went and I found a corporate job, and my only experience beforehand was in food and the auto industry. So I was like, I really don't want to be in either of those. No shame to anybody in those industries, but I wanted to get out and find something more on the business side. So I was like, where can I go that has a good ladder that I can get a corporate level position, and then trade out of that into something a little bit more, professional that's not in the auto industry. So I was like, Hertz. Hertz is great, multi-billion-dollar company. And I grew really fast with them. I started as a salesperson, and then became like the youngest finance manager at the company within 6 months. Then a year and a half later, I was running the store because of something that happened with the store manager. And I was just ready for it, And then my store was rocking it. We were like #1 on the list for all the different KPIs that, the corporation was tracking, and we had a strategic planning call one day, and my bosses were, asking all these questions. I was just very well prepared for this call. And they actually called me afterwards and they're like, "Hey, Daniel, we want you to apply for the North Pacific regional manager position." I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." I'm like, I was just starting to like put in my plans to go for that position. And you're here
Yeah.
asking me to apply. Like, down, let's go. Like, I'll figure it out. So I did. So I applied and ultimately got the job and ultimately hated it. So, so then, I found my way out. It all worked exactly as planned. I found somebody who was in the financial service industry, and he liked what I had done at Hertz and thought I could do a good job helping him run the operations for he's 7 different businesses, and he hired me as his VP of operations. And then and that's where it got started, and I did that as my own business. So I just, rather than being employed, I was kind of like partnered as a consultant for him. And it's interesting, it is literally just like a mindset shift to be a business owner versus an employee, and
Yeah.
I encourage, and I'm happy to chat with anybody about this, but that freedom and the flexibility you get by being a consultant versus an employee is pretty amazing. No, I don't get health benefits from being a consultant, but you get to create them yourself. You get to pick
Yeah.
freedom. I'm telling you, it's amazing. So
Yeah,
anyway,
man.
long story long.
That's a good story, man. I love it. There's a bit I want to unpack about that actually. So, what kind of feels like within there with a lot of that was this ability to have that work life balance. You kind of saw it with your dad, and you're like, okay, that's not a work life balance that I know that I can live with, and clearly, it's not a healthy work life balance, right?
Right.
Yeah, overwork often causes people to die at a young age due to stress and overuse and stuff like that. So how important is that to you, that level of work-life balance to keep yourself happy, keep yourself motivated? And does that impact as well with like what you are doing? So we're going to get into like, I want to get into Unicorn Universe a little bit, but just without diving into that, how important was it to you, right? Like, did you notice that right away? Like, oh, I have all this freedom in my IT business and I'm much happier than my dad who maybe has 7 warehouses and it looks like you're running a big business, but really you're just working all the time.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I did kind of give up at that time. I was like, I've got this business, it's very easy and flexible, but what is the long-term plan? Am I really going to do anything with this? I was just kind of going with the flow at that time.
Yeah.
But ultimately that is what it was about. I was like, I do love it. I'm not going to go take over something that I don't love, that I'm not passionate about. So that was pretty much it. I mean, you can't put a price on a clear head to do the things that you're passionate about that, bring positivity into your life. If you have something that's
Mm-hmm.
bringing you down, it's nearly impossible to really be positive and energized about the things that you're doing. So
Yeah, your situation is so important, right? I always tell people
absolutely.
that you have more control of your situation than you realize, right? And for yourself, it would have been fairly easy and almost probably seen as the correct path was to just take over your father's business because it sounds like he took over it from his father, and so it was kind of like a linear thing, right?
Not quite.
Oh, okay, fair
No.
enough.
No, no.
But like a lot of people feel compelled to take over their family business, right? To, carry on the legacy, so to speak, right? But you had the ability, thankfully, to look at that and go, you know what, I won't be happy doing that. And I think that's a really powerful thing to be able to do. So
Yeah.
I commend you for doing that alone. Well done.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say to that, what is the legacy that you want to leave? So many people get stuck into this business. Businesses that get passed down are prone to failure. They just typically, not typically, but they're so many times they fail because it's not what somebody's passionate about. You're
Yeah.
not your parents, and your parents' passions are not your passions. So if that's not the legacy you want to leave, first, I would say let them know sooner rather than later so they can have a different succession plan in order. Because I didn't. And, he probably could have handed it off to somebody that was passionate about it, that did want it. but I just didn't. That wasn't for me. So,
Hmm.
so I think it's important to know what your mission is and what the legacy is that you want to leave behind, which goes back to my profile. You said a billion people, it's billions of people, because I believe that we can leave a lasting legacy that impacts the world for generations to come. And that's my goal. I'm trying to do it in so many different ways, which is why I'm so passionate about Unicorn Universe, because we're bringing together purpose driven businesses to help them grow and be successful and leave a positive impact in a very grand scale. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's dive into that a little bit because we're kind of segueing there, anyways. So obviously, you discovered, hey, I'm set out for quite a different path. I did the traditional business stuff, and then you realize, maybe this isn't quite what I'm looking for. What drove that transition to the unicorn universe, which I'm sure we'll touch on a bit more as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it wasn't just me that started this company. There were a few people involved that we got our heads together and identified that there was an opportunity to help people create a lifetime income stream through making connections. And so, so a group of us got together, figured out the solution, which was we set up partnerships with all these different companies, and then figure out what somebody needs and introduce them to our partners. They pay us a referral fee, we pay whoever sent us the connection, and that never stops, right? And so with over 100 partnerships established, we have so many ways to monetize an introduction that somebody can continue getting paid for life, from ongoing marketing services or ongoing, operational support or scaling business, buying a business, selling a business, funding a business. There's so many different ways, when I got started, I did not imagine that there would be so many niche type of solutions that we could provide for people. But the thing about it is that every business is different, because a business is not a thing, it's a group of people. And every person
Mm.
is different, and they're helping people in different ways. Their company culture, their vision, their values and standards and things that they do that create that company help us identify who's going to be the right solution for what the other company needs. So
Hmm.
yeah. So there's
Yeah.
no one catch-all for any business solution as far as I'm concerned.
What do you think too as well? So I want to dive into that connectionness a little bit, because I think staying connected and connecting with people is such a vital, important thing, both in our personal lives and in business, right? It's such a powerful tool to have outside of sort of monetary um, advantages of connecting with lots of individuals. What are some of the things that you've noticed kind of through these connections that people also gain when you've connected like-minded individuals together and kind of put people, for better or worse, in a room together?
Well, so like I was saying before, when you align the right people that are focused on a greater purpose outside of monetary reasons, they can really create a significant impact by working on, a similar mission together. So I like to identify what kind of social impact causes people are focused on and align them together, what they're passionate about outside of business, because we're not just on a mission to provide revenue for people. The reason that's part of it is because we're trying to help people create the lifestyle of their dreams and more joy, essentially. And so it's not just about business. We ask them what their dreams are, personally and professionally, and how we can help them get there, even if it's just a connection or an introduction to somebody who is amazing. And I've met so many people that have become close friends, like yourself, Freeman. And I talk to this guy, Brian Muka, like, all the time. And we've become very close friends through all of this, because we don't just focus on business, we focus on people. It's all about
Mm.
people. My business partner, Michael Gray, is the one who introduced me to the hashtag we use, people not project, and people not projects. And
Love that.
that's I do too. It's like, it's amazing.
So
It's so
powerful.
important to focus on the people. The projects will happen, right? And it's always funny when people are like, how is this going to be beneficial for my business? How can I grow with this? And I'm like, so many ways, but you're also going to find people that you can create relationships with that could potentially be friends for life, it's and that's so much more important to me. Your businesses change, right? Some of them work out, some of them don't work out. Your relationships are forever.
Yeah, I love that last line. Your relationships are forever. I think that's huge. I also love that you pointed out in there that when you get people who are all passionate about a certain thing, that then drives it even farther, right? I mean, I could go on. There's all types of stats about why chasing monetary value is potentially an issue, right? And I think, don't get me wrong, everything's still a business. You have to make money. That's part of this living. We all have to pay our bills. But
Right.
there's a certain unique feeling that gets when you're passionate about something, and if you can turn that into profit, you've won the golden ticket of life at that point in time. And it sounds like what you guys do at Unicorn Universe is help people find that golden ticket through those connections, right? Which,
Yeah.
oddly enough, is, I'm using this word golden, which is going to lead me right into something else I wanted to talk about. You have this cool concept called the golden connection, right? What's that all
Right.
about?
Yeah, so I could feel that question coming because we're talking connections and golden, and yeah, so the golden connection is basically a single connection that could change your life, whether it's personally or professionally. My business partner's golden connection for the longest time was a puppy, Chihuahua. That was his golden connection, and he found it, and his name is Taco, and he's the cutest little dog, and I have a lot of fun with that dog. He's honestly so much fun. And so, okay, so take that aside from the business side of things, which is very serious because that golden connection that can change your life, your business, and create a substantial growth for your business, exponentially, is a huge thing that we focus on. Because a golden connection could be a partner that you set up that sends consistent deal flow to your business, or that you can send business to and set up a partnership and get a commission for making those referrals. Just like what we've done, where we've set up all these partnerships, we're helping other businesses identify what would be business partnerships for them to set up that could, again, either create substantial deal flow, solve a problem that they've got, or save time, or even create a new opportunity. By bundling a service together, for example, sometimes that can actually add more value to your clients, because you say, look, if you need X, Y, or Z, we've set up a partnership with a company that does exactly that, but the best. So we can stay laser focused on what we're the best at while they focus on what they're the best at. And we've partnered and created this bundled service option for you to streamline the operations of it, to maximize the effect on your business. And ultimately, it's a win-win for both businesses too, because they both end up getting clients and business out of it, and just creates that perpetual growth.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so you focus. So a big part of it is focusing on the core values, so that you're aligning with the right businesses. Because if you try to set up a partnership with a company who you don't align with in the core values, guess what? It's probably not going to go very well. So if one of them is purely money focused and the other is impact focused, it's just,
Yeah.
it might not
I
work
want
out
to
as
dive
well
into
as you
that
think.
really quick for a second as well, because I think it's really important when you're building a relationship like these ones that you're talking about, when you align with your core values as well with the other person, it lets you get through a lot of roadblocks a lot easier. Because let's be honest, business is bumpy. There's no two ways
Yeah.
about this. It's not just a happy, I'm a positive individual, but I'm not going to tell you that businesses are just great all the time, because that would be completely unrealistic, right? But when you
Right.
have people that align on a core value and a mission, and you do what you guys do, and you connect those people together, now when they hit those roadblocks, when they hit those negative slumps and those issues, they're probably able to overcome them much stronger. They probably even come out better off than they were prior to that bump. Have you seen stuff like that as well?
Absolutely. And that's why so many business coaches, if you think about EOS implementers, for example, they basically mandate that you identify what your core values are, right? Because if you don't have those, then it becomes nearly impossible to, match up with the people that align with them, because you don't even
Mm-hmm.
know what they are, right? And so figuring out what you stand for and what is important to you makes it much easier to do. Plus, when you find those people, it's like, yes, you're a unicorn, is what we say, which is why we
Yeah.
have a full unicorn DNA. There's 16 points to the unicorn DNA, and there are all sorts of different elements to each point. So I won't go through all of them, but ultimately, we like to align with people that are good natured people who want to collaborate to make a positive impact in the world and value connecting, are reciprocal and abundant, and simply just want to help each other grow and succeed. So there's, like I said, a lot more to it, but ultimately you would think that anybody wants to work that way, right?
Hmm.
But that abundance part is a very crucial part that so many times I'll have a conversation with somebody. It's like, man, you're thinking with a scarcity mindset, and it's there and you can see it, and they're worried. They're like, oh, well, going back to the whole, what's in it for me type of thing, like, how is this going to help my business grow? That's, for us, it's more about how is this going to help the community, and how is the community going to help each other grow together, right? Because when we all work together and we have the focus of a purpose driven mission, we can create a positive impact in the world. I firmly believe that. I know it.
100%.
You
Yeah.
see it.
How? Oh yeah, you see it everywhere, which is incredible. How did you find your core values? How do you think that came about? Because it sounds like you have a pretty good understanding of what your core values are. So how did you have any? Was it an epiphany? Was it kind of just looking at experiences?
No. So it was a handful of things. It was working with a coach specifically. I did, a lot of soul searching myself. The book Start With Why is a great resource to, give you the tools you need to figure out, what it is that what your why is, right? Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
Such a
I
good
was
book.
working, yeah, 100%.
So good.
So I highly recommend it. If you have a business and you are trying to identify your core values, start with why, which ultimately, is not as much about the core values, but that's how you get to the why. But it's about why you even do what you do. When you wake up in the morning, what springs you out of the bed? Or if you're not springing out of bed, why?
Yeah.
Like, maybe work on that a little bit and make some adjustments so that you wake up or even dream about it and you're just like, let's go, right? Let's
Hmm.
keep creating and building and designing what I want to create to make that positive impact. So, that book was instrumental. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. The person I was working with, he has a company called True Freedom, which helps you clear your subconscious to focus on the single most important things that you want to focus on. And there was so much more to that journey that I had with him that I was just not expecting. Sebastian Cruz with True Freedom, that's his company. And that guy is amazing. I highly recommend anybody connect with him. So anyway, so we did a handful of exercises together. He helped me identify those values. He and I did this exercise, just going through the list. Like, basically what he said is, you have a table of people, right? Who's allowed to have a seat at the table and who's not, right? And
I love
so
that.
I went through it. Like, people that have a scarcity mindset, I don't want them there. I want them sharing the food with each other, right? Like, don't worry about getting the last piece of the pie, right? Share it with somebody else. There's another
Yeah.
one coming
We'll
up
make
the
we'll make
oven.
another pie. It's okay.
Yeah, like, come
Yeah.
on. And so just and ultimately, just good natured people and people that are uplifting, that want to support other people and have a positive outlook on life. Like, that's so important to me because, you know, and I'm sure you've noticed this with everything that you do. Some people just negatively, and it's literally a switch. And I was actually talking to my sister about this yesterday, where I just I find it so important to try to find the positivity in situations. And, there's so much to learn from the things that we've experienced. And so, why let anything bring you down? We all have obstacles, we all have challenges, but that's all that they are. They're
Hmm.
not negative experiences, they're positive opportunities to grow.
Yes. Yeah, I'm big on this thing that we see fail. The word fail is a negative word. And I'm like, it doesn't need to be. We've given it a negative implication, but it's not necessarily a negative word. We all fail all the time. One of my favorite things is like, if you when you were a baby, when you first took your first few steps and fell over, you failed at walking. If we treated babies like we treat us, like, oh no, you failed at that. Like, don't try that again. None of us would be
Yeah.
walking. We'd all have given up because we'd be like, oh, that baby doesn't know how to walk. It's a failure. Like, we fail all the time. And the more you do, the better you get at it as well, right? So many people
Right.
often say, right, fail fast, fail forward, fail often. But you're right. It's making those mental shifts to understand that fail isn't a bad thing. These challenges are lessons that I can look at and seeing those things in a more of a positive light, which takes some practice and stuff. And that's part of the reason why my brand is called 365, because I think it's a daily, year round thing that you slowly work on. You know, you build these positive practices into your life. But going back to why, because it's actually something I wanted to talk about. You personally, what is your get out of the bed? What is your why?
So mine is very clearly defined, and it goes back to my mission to positively impact billions of people, to challenge, encourage, and inspire them to be the best versions of themselves they can be, and connect them with solutions that help them get there faster.
Man, that was so beautifully put out. You've practiced
I
that one.
rehearse it. I think about it all the time. You know,
Oh, that's so good.
you identify your mission and rehearse it to yourself. I didn't even say it exactly word for word correctly, but I got all the elements in there, you know. That's the mission, you know. That's what gets me out of bed. That's why I'm so passionate about what we're doing at Unicorn Universe, because I understand that it supports my mission. It supports my
Hmm.
why, you know. The
And
it's a very it's so important to me. So
do you find it makes the day to day things easier as well? I'm sure, like any business, there's mundane practices in there. Again, like we said, there's challenges. Do you find like having that your why is very concreted by the sound of it? You know exactly why. Do you find that helps with that as well?
100%. You know, sometimes things are not easy to do. Sometimes things are boring. Sometimes things might seem like, you know, you don't like doing it, just the action of it. But if you know why you're doing it, going back to why you're doing anything and what gets you out of bed, then whatever, it all becomes part of the journey, you know? It's just a step in the process, you know?
Hmm.
Supporting my why, you know?
I love that. It's so good, man. So good. I want to jump back to this golden connection idea because I'm curious if you can share sort of any really interesting kind of golden connections that you've seen being made. If you're comfortable sharing those, if you can, share some of the
Sure.
really cool ones that you've seen come through and the really powerful ones.
Yeah, so there's one specific example that has impacted tons of businesses across the United States specifically, and that's related to the employee retention credit. So we set up a partnership with one company who provides this solution for businesses, the employee retention tax credit, basically where businesses can get up to $26,000 back on the payroll taxes they pay employees on during COVID. It's part of the CARES Act, it's part of the stimulus programs. And we helped one business owner who was looking at a different opportunity, going to chase that rabbit. And we were like, hey, what about this? You know, the employee retention credit. He saw it, he loved it. He was like, this is great. Let's do it. So we introduced him with who I would say was his golden connection, the guys that are doing the employee retention credit. And he has since helped, again, hundreds of businesses recover. We, between the companies that we've set up, between him and some others, about $11.5 million of recovered tax credits.
Wow.
And and so the impact that has for his business, for the businesses that got the money, for the businesses that are running the credits for people, for us, because we get involved, for the connectors that make the introductions who also get a commission on that, wins, 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 wins all
So many
around.
wins.
Yeah. So, and the beautiful thing, unfortunately, I don't have a say on which businesses are getting that credit, but hey, I've seen dialysis companies come through that are getting the credit. And I mean, what a positive impact for those companies, right?
Huge.
And he focuses on the Hispanic market, which is amazing because they're so underserved in this country, and they're, and they're doing great things. Why not help them out, And so it's amazing. Everybody is benefiting from that golden connection. That's probably my favorite one because just of how long term that impact can have on these businesses. Just think of the people they can employ because of that money, the solutions they can create because of that money. So many different things that is just simply amazing. So
Hmm.
there's one example for you.
Did you did you have a golden connection that kind of brought that up? Was there like somebody that you connected with and then you were like, man, I got to bring this to more people. Like this is powerful.
Yeah, we actually went through a few different partners that were doing the employee retention credit. And so we had some that didn't work out, that weren't delivering at the speed that it needed to happen or the consistency, or, just dotting all the I's and crossing their T's. And
Yeah.
so and that's kind of a big part of the value that we bring to people, is that we set up the partnerships, we test them out, we vet them, and make sure that they're a solid, reputable company that's going to do what they say. And if not, we'll cut them off, right? And stop introducing people to them, because that's our name on the line too. If we say, hey, you should go talk to this company, and they don't do what they say, then that's on us. We made that introduction. So
Hmm.
so we went through, I don't know, 4 or 5 different companies that were doing this service, and found one that I believe is the leading employee retention credit processor in the USA. And they have it all automated. They get the filing complete very quickly. They have a whole form that you can do. So it's streamlined so well that it helps the business who needs that funding. It integrates with payroll, all these things. And so that's the right solution, right? And we are dialed in with them. The other people we introduce to them, or the other people who want to get involved, we introduce to them, because they do it right. They do it great. So it's hard to argue with that, right? And so yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. It's so interesting that um, you know, you can see the ripple effect of the what's happening, right? Especially with that example. It's like, okay, we're going to introduce a few people here and here, but the effect is widespread, right?
Right,
You're talking about millions of people who are probably
right.
getting help with these tax credits. Like you said, it's the business owners, which ultimately means it's the employee. Like there's so many individuals who are becoming, positively engaged because of a simple connection that you guys helped make, which I'm sure is obviously makes you feel better, makes you feel like you're doing the right thing, and cements again that why, right? You're like, okay, I am doing it. I'm going the direction that I need to be, which is so amazing. So for yourself, we've talked about kind of like your why and stuff like that. Um, but let's go like a little bit off of that. But like, what makes you happy? Whether it be in the unicorn universe, like what moments do you like? Yes, I'm doing the right thing. What cements it for you?
Watching people connect that thoroughly create that are just so happy to be connected. Connecting people that it does change their life for the better. So many times I love seeing introductions that I've made start communicating with each other, tagging people on LinkedIn, just engaging with each other, working together on creating new things. It's amazing, because I don't make those introductions if I don't think they're good people, right? Like, no
Mm-hmm.
offense, but if you're not doing good things, I'm gonna kind of just let you go. Because I don't believe in your mission or the lack thereof, right? And I think that's largely why people do bad things, is because they don't have a greater purpose that they're focused on, right? Because most people
Mm-hmm.
don't wake up and think, oh, I'm gonna, rob a bank, right? That's how I'm gonna make my money and leave a legacy. No, that usually comes from something, and
Yeah,
it's not a
desperation
purpose
or.
driven mission. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a Friday connection call over Zoom every week. And a lot of people asked if we were even going to do one this week because of Thanksgiving. I was like, 100%. I love it. Like, it's so much fun, and we just have a good time. We bring together unicorns that are, business owners, CEOs, executives, head of partnerships, entrepreneurs, inventors, you name it, basically. We're bringing those people together who are passionate about what they're doing, focused on a greater purpose, and we bring them together. And, it's just so much fun. I absolutely love it. Last week I mentioned Brian Muka. I still don't know how to say his name right, but he played the ukulele on our connection
I
call,
saw
and it
that
was just
video.
I had so much fun. It was like almost unfair. I think about this all the time. I'm like, I have such a great life. Like, it's just so much fun. I get to connect with people. I get to learn about people's businesses. I get to find ways to help them, whether it's a connection to a partner or a connection to a person that I think they would be friends with. Sometimes I'm like, look, you guys have no business opportunities together, but I think you're going to love each other. So meet,
Matt, I was
like,
just thinking that as you said that. I think it's so cool that you bring people together every week like that. And that, like you're saying, sometimes they might not even be business connections, but just the sheer bringing people together. Again, going back,
right.
connecting people, whether it be in groups, one on one, it tends to just fuel this level of positivity and happiness, right? We enjoy that
100%.
interaction. We enjoy being around other people and seeing them happy and seeing them succeed. Like that fuels it yourself, right? And it's so
Yeah.
cool that you do that on a weekly basis.
Thank you. I agree. It's again, I feel like I'm cheating. It's just so amazing. Like, I never expected to love my life and my business and everything so much. It's
Hmm.
great. In fact, and as we're talking, I'm like, there's this person that, and I should get off of LinkedIn. I'm thinking of this person that I just met recently that is focused on positivity 365 days of the year, who you need to meet with, Freeman.
There's another one?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, it's not Keenan, is it? Because me and Keenan have already connected. If there's another
No,
one, then there's a trifecta of us.
nope. I
And
and
I
I
hope
feel
there's
like,
more of us. I hope this is a trend that starts. I hope people start doing it. That would be great.
yeah, her Sabrina Victoria, founder and
Oh, okay.
executive director at Human Better 365. So it's a little bit different, but
Oh,
synergistic, right? So
I love
I'll
it.
introduce you guys.
Yeah,
We're
definitely. That would be
look at this,
amazing.
making connections right here live on
Making connections
LinkedIn.
on a live chat. You really don't ever
That's
stop doing
great.
it, Daniel. You can't. It's in your
No,
blood.
it's so much fun. I did not come from this. A couple of years ago, I was a mess. Like, I could barely going to a networking event would terrify me. Like, I was
Wow.
not great at starting up conversations, at really focusing on the people. I was so focused on projects, it's not even funny. But between my business partner Michael Gray and another one of the founding partners that started the company, Aaron Peterson, uh, we were at this networking event. This was such a fun experience. I was so nervous doing this, though. It was one of the first networking events that I went to, hundreds of people there. And he wired me up. I think I was wearing the same suit. And we did like a candid camera thing. And I had asked him, I'm like, hey, can you help me, like, be a better networker? So he wired me up with this microphone, this, hidden microphone, basically. And we had this cameraman like 100 feet away recording us. And we would go around the booths and we would just ask people, we'd say, first question, if money no longer mattered, what would you do with all of your time?
Oh, I love that question. It's one of my favorite
And we would
questions.
just dig in, right? Then we would ask people, what's the most amount of money you made in the least amount of time, right? And so they would tell us, and we'd ask them how. And then we would say, okay, so if you could just do that thing and maximize the income that you generate, would you spend the rest of your time doing what you said in the first place, what you would do with all of your time? And it was interesting, the responses we would get from people. Here we are sitting at these business owners or the employees booth that they're running, and it's like whatever business service it is, and we have people saying, I'd be a farmer, I would be a baker, I would knit, I would fly planes, like all these things that are just so out of left field. And it's just like, all right, cool. So why don't you spend more time doing the thing that made you the most amount of money in the least amount of time, and spend more time doing the thing that you would do with all of that extra time? And it's just
Hmm.
interesting the way that people respond to that. And so that really helped me, because, and here we are recording it, and I've lost a lot of weight since that video. So we haven't, if I posted that video, I'd be like, that doesn't even look like Daniel. But
You're like, that must be a stand-in.
but yeah, it was just so much fun, and that was very helpful for me. It really just comes down to being authentic about wanting to just learn about people. Again, people, not projects. Get to know them, right? Focus
Mm-hmm.
on the people, not the project, right? If you go to a networking event with a strategy and you're like, hey, who wants to take my services? Who needs this? Who needs that? It's not going to be as good of an experience as if you go there to just make connections, find people that align with your core values, right? And your mission. And when you find them, it's exciting. It's so exciting. When I find people
Mm.
that, check the boxes, like Lachelle Adkins, who we just hit it off. She focuses on collaboration over competition, abundance, connection, all the things. We just hit it off. And it's like, okay, we're friends. Like, there are no questions asked. Like, you're amazing. And it just becomes a much better experience at those networking events, right? So
Yeah, I often find
anyway,
too as well that it's not necessarily the person you met just at that event, right? And this is the cool thing with connections is it's those secondary or third tertiary connections. Like we just
right.
experienced, you're like, hey, you need to go talk to was it Sarah? I think is the name.
Sabrina Victoria.
Sabrina. Oh, I got it wrong. But like I've had that happen at networking events, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go. This person's fun. You're chit chatting. You get to know them a little bit. And like a week later, they're like, oh, hey, you really need to talk to this person. Or sometimes even at the same event, right? They're like, you should really be talking to, Bob over there. That was a horrible name
Right.
to use as an example.
Bob.
But it's the most generic name I could come up with. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That when you remove it from, hey, here's what I do. Do you want to use what I have instead of like, here's the things that I find valuable and I appreciate? Is that something that aligns with you? And then you can find common ground generally a lot faster and a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So I wanted to dive into a couple more things here as we kind of start to wrap up. So we talked a little bit. I want to talk before I get into these questions. You mentioned how grateful you are for the what you're doing, and you're like it just feels almost unrealistic. And I think it's really cool that you think that that's possible for other people as well, and you're taking steps to kind of make that happen. What are some of the things that you find just that you're so incredibly grateful for, and how do you make sure that you continue to stay grateful? And you're very humble as well. So how do you keep all that in?
You know, I've been through a lot of challenges in my life, and everything that's not a challenge is something to be grateful for. And so,
Mm.
you know, having opportunities like this one, just being able to talk and, share my message with people and make connections. I connected you with Sabrina on the live event. Why not, right? Then
Do
she can
it.
go back and watch it right then, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many things to be grateful for, and there are gratitude books you can learn or read and learn about how to be grateful for various things. It's just, I have a computer, I have food, I had a ridiculous Thanksgiving dinner. I have amazing connections. I have resources and people and tools and knowledge and, books that I can use to level up my skills. There's so many things to be grateful for in this world. It's almost impossible not to be grateful for just the
Mm.
situation. And so, and I really don't do a whole lot of, gratitude journaling or anything like that. I have, but I do think it's important to recognize the things you're grateful for. And so yeah, so I mean there's so many things that we can be grateful for. Just having a good day, is something to be grateful for. Just waking up,
100%.
you know.
Waking up. Yes, I was going to say. Yeah, just the fact that we woke up this morning is something to be grateful
Right.
for. Yeah.
100%.
And in a bed for that matter too.
Yeah, with a
Yeah.
blanket. I even
With a
have my
blanket and
fan
a roof.
running all night long. That's
Yeah.
like so posh, right? I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
It is. It's
Like,
super. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I love that you have the ability to remain super grateful, I think. And I have a feeling that regardless of how far you go, you're going to continue to be grateful, which is amazing. So I could definitely commend you for that. I want to ask you, what are 3 things that you do every day that you think lead you to be a more positive person or lead you to be a more successful person?
So I don't dwell on the negative things. I find opportunities to stay positive. Um, and I make connections between people and myself, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing. I can't even express it enough how much I enjoy doing that. So that
I love
alone,
that.
the fact that I get to do what I have discovered I absolutely love doing so much every single day is in and of itself amazing. And ultimately, so this is the fourth one, but it ties it all together, right? The fact that I get to work on my mission every day and continue to focus on my why and why I do what I do, it makes it, nearly impossible to be negative about things. And if you're having, if you're if you're struggling with a challenge or something, remember why you're doing what you're doing and just keep focusing on that. Persevere and just keep going, keep working on that mission.
I love that. So don't dwell on the negative. Look for the more positive things that are happening in your life.
Hmm.
Be more connected. Find people to connect. Connect with people. Do that, and then understanding your why. I love those things.
Yeah.
Man. Those are so good. What do you think are the three most important things that, and you can use the similar ones, but what do you think are the three most important things people need to be doing to be more positive in life?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, and what I said ultimately come down to doing what you're passionate about, right? That's why that's why I love what I'm doing so much because it's what I'm passionate about. So, you know, so that would be the first one is just doing what you're passionate about. Again, going this one is going to be a repeat. Finding your
It's
why
good. Yeah.
and the purpose. Your why and your purpose are a little bit different. They're very tied together. And surround yourself with amazing people.
Mm, I love that. Surround yourself with amazing people. That's really good. Yeah. I do want to too as well, since we've got a bit of time left here. I want to jump back to something that you were talking about when you were talking about where was it now? I've lost what it was. We just talked about it there. It was something to do with connecting. Oh, that's what it was. I got it now. So I think it's really interesting because we're told, and you were probably told this as well. I'm sure, like, do the thing you're passionate about, right? But oftentimes, that thing doesn't necessarily monetarily make sense, right? And I love that, again, back to this question that you were asking people, what would you do if money wasn't an option? Which is such a
Hmm.
powerful question because it makes you think about things differently. But ultimately, money still is the thing that has to happen. And so I think it's really interesting that there is sort of two ways that you can do it, right? You can find a thing that you're passionate about and a way to make money off of it. Or the other path, like you alluded to, what skill set do you have that you can make an abundance of money off of in a short period of time that will allow you to spend more time doing a thing that you love doing? Because I think for some people feel like we have to either do it one way or the other way. We have to always do the thing that we're passionate about and make a living doing it, or you need to find something that you're really good at and you can make money off of. And sure,
Yeah.
sometimes those things align, but sometimes the right path is just, oh, I can, I'm a brilliant graphic designer and I can charge out $500 an hour to do this thing, and I'm going to work 20 hours a week, and I'm going to travel for all the other time, right?
Yeah. So okay, and that's a great example. So going back into the why, so I think while it's important to do something you're passionate about, I think it's more important to be passionate about what you're doing and
Ooh.
find yeah, if you're not passionate about it, honestly find something else. Like that is such BS. There are so many ways that you can find a passion for what you're doing that if you're not passionate about it, you should find something else. And I mean that. I'm not trying to
Mm-hmm.
get anybody to quit their job. What I'm trying to say is find a reason to be passionate about your job, right? You went there for a reason. Does the company have a good culture? Do they have a good mission you can get behind? Are the people there amazing? Are you providing a valuable service that is good? If you're not, I mean, come on. Um, but if all of those boxes are checked, or some of them, or even one of them, right? Latch onto it and get passionate about that
Mm-hmm.
single purpose behind the reason you go to work every day. Like get passionate about what you do. There is something there. And you can't always do what you're passionate about, right? Because, I really like making music. I'm a musical guy. I have made a whole dollar off of my music, and I
Yeah, I'm
love it.
passionate about music, but yeah.
Can I make money with it? 100%. Could it make that passion, you know, could it diminish the passion? Potentially. My greater purpose supports my music passion, and part of my mission is to incorporate music into my mission. That's hard to say,
That was a
but I
tongue
believe,
twister. Well done.
yeah, but I believe I can impact more people through positive music, and so it'll be part of it. It's not right now because I simply just don't have the time. I do. See, that's the thing, you know. You do. You make the time for the things that you're passionate about, right?
Hmm.
So ultimately you got to get passionate about whatever you're doing, and that to me. So going back to the graphic designer, right, who loves traveling, you know graphic designing should support your travel passion, but you know design landscapes, design the things you
Yeah.
want to travel to, create logos or things for companies that are travel companies, or are have a mission or company values that you can support and get behind, that when you wake up every day you're stoked to work on their brand, you're stoked to
Hmm.
create compelling graphics that make people like, wow, this is great. Again, just find that passion, right? It's there. But if you don't know your why, if you don't know the purpose and your mission that you're trying to accomplish, then it does become more challenging. It's so important that you start there. Start with why.
Man, that was so good. That was brilliant. And I love that it is I guess we live in this world where possibility is so endless. And I think you touched on that there, right? Like just because you're a graphic designer working for, a company that designs baseball cards, but maybe you are really passionate about travel. Well, then you need to find the people who can help connect you to people and businesses that need graphic designers who make travel logos, or they make a website travel blog. You know what I mean? Like the opportunities really are in our day and age. I feel very fortunate that we have this ability to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Find that thing that we are passionate about, and then just help steer ourselves in the direction to doing it even more and more, right? Because maybe you're like, oh, I am passionate about designing things, but I'm more passionate about this. So it's like, okay, I'm going to slowly start to steer my way towards trying to do more of that and less of another thing. And
Yeah.
knowing the right people is part of the big key to do that, which is
Yeah.
why what you're doing is so vitally important.
Right. Surround yourself with amazing people. That's probably one of my favorite elements of the unicorn DNA. Unicorns like to surround themselves with amazing people.
Man, so good. So good. So I just want to, while we're wrapping up here, we got a couple minutes left. I just want to encourage everybody who's either watching live or going to listen to this podcast in the future when I put it out. Definitely check out Daniel Knight and the Unicorn Universe. And you're on Instagram. I'll let you plug yourself because I'll probably mess it up.
Well, so I'm primarily on LinkedIn. 10x Unicorn is my LinkedIn handle, and it's the same across all of them except Instagram and Twitter. It's 10x_ unicorn. The guy won't give it up. So yeah. Otherwise, Unicorn Universe. And I would love to chat with anybody who wants to connect with and be a part of a community of amazing people that are abundant, reciprocal, collaborative, and good-natured people.
I love it. Yeah, definitely go check out Daniel Knight, guys, where you can. Find him on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and definitely go check out his website as well if you want. It'll be in the link to the episode wherever you're listening to or watching this on. There will be a link to all of Daniel's socials and his website. So go check it out. And I can say from experience that you can just message Daniel, and if you have any questions, and he'll probably answer you because he's pretty great like that. If you
it might
haven't
take
yet,
a minute.
he might, yeah. He might be sleeping, but otherwise.
Well,
or eating. Okay.
by all means, I am an open book and I have an open door. I'm always happy to support anybody however I can. So 100%.
I love it.
LinkedIn's probably the best route for me. So.
Definitely. Yeah, you're a machine on there. Anyways, guys, as we wrap up here, I just want to say thank you guys so much. For those of you tuned in live, I really appreciate it. It was awesome. For those of you listening later on, definitely appreciate it. Like I said, go check it out. If you haven't yet, by all means, feel free to follow myself on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and my newsletter. They'll all be in the description below as well. And lastly, just thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate you coming out here, sharing your information on the need to be connected more with everybody that we know and those that we know will help us and help them. So I really appreciate it, man.
Freeman, no, thank you. Seriously, 1,000%. Thank you so much for having me here. I love what you're doing. I love what you stand for. Positivity 365. It's amazing. Keep it up. Keep it up, brother.
Awesome. Thanks so much, buddy.